channel. I'm Judy Zelina. Today we've got on our program, we have two guests and they're joining us from Great Lakes Hospice. So I'm very pleased to introduce Cheryl Cook, and Cheryl is the Director of Professional Services, and Heather McLaughlin, you are the Program Manager for Hospice. And they've got some new things in the works we want to talk about, but first off, ladies, give our viewers a little bit of an overview or history of Great Lakes Hospice.
Well, we've actually been in business for 25 years,
All right.
Working through home care and hospice. Our hospice has been Medicare certified since 1996. I came on board in 1997, so it was kind of nice that I came on quickly after we got certified. And we provide care to folks in Erie County for end-of-life services.
Okay, so you've been around, it's been around for 25 years.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah.
Wow. And where are you located? Where is it located?
We're at 1700 Peach Street, Suite 244. It's the old Central Mall, if people remember the Central Mall.
Okay, now I know.
Yep.
All right, when you give me an address, I'm
Right.
trying to do this GPS in my mind.
I remember
Okay.
going there as a child, the Central Mall, next to the main ACL lab on
Okay.
Peach Street.
Okay. Now, Great Lakes Hospice, I'm sure it's got like a mission or a philosophy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Basically, we're here to serve folks at the end of life. That's, hospice is asked to come in when someone's considered terminal with a less than 6-month prognosis, and we come in to help not only the patient but also the family deal with all the things you deal with at end of life. And there's a lot that comes up, not only the physical symptoms for the patient, but all the emotional stuff that goes on for the family when they're losing a loved one.
And there is a lot of emotional, emotion going on with the family, because really, honestly, when hospice is called in right then, you pretty much know that's you're working towards the end.
Right, there's a lot of dynamics that play, not just for the family, but the patient. It's the whole picture there. Yeah.
Do you find people that are hesitant to call you in because they're kind of like in denial?
Absolutely.
Do you?
Absolutely. Well, and in part, there's so much out there these days for additional treatments, especially for cancer patients. You hop on the web and you can go into clinical trials, you can go here, there, and everywhere. So there's so many things that people can do to try to prolong life, so they don't always fit into the realm of hospice. But we also see folks that aren't just cancer patients. We see people with end-stage heart disease, lung, end-stage Alzheimer's, even like a failure to thrive diagnosis, someone who is just at the end of their life, they've stopped eating and drinking, they don't want anything aggressive, they don't want tube feedings or anything, and they just want to be made comfortable, then we can come in those situations. But sometimes people do wait until the very end to call us, unfortunately.
Okay. Now, first off, who is eligible for these services?
Well, anybody's eligible as long as they have a diagnosis that fits the hospice philosophy, and the physician also has to state that they have 6 months or less to live in there, and that's what the physician would do.
And the person has to really want this type of care. They want comfort measures, that they're not going to want anything aggressive to prolong life, that they really just want to do things to be comfortable and have some dignity in their final days.
Okay. Now, are your services covered by insurance?
They
How does
sure
that
are.
work?
We accept all insurances. We really try to work with everybody that's out there. Medicare kind of set the stage for hospice back in the day, and everybody follows what Medicare does. So Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, Health America, any of the private insurances we really try to work with. And we actually take folks that have no money as well. We have an indigent program, and so we care for folks that aren't able to pay if they don't have any insurance.
So basically, you don't turn anybody away
No,
for any reason whatsoever.
no, and we are a nonprofit organization. We are a department of UPMC Hammett, so we do take anyone.
Okay. Now, what services do you guys provide? I know you'll come in at end of life, but there's many more programs that you provide, aren't there?
Well, we have your basic nursing services, your home health aid services. We have a chaplain. We have social worker. We have
A physician,
that-
pharmacists, even volunteers.
Okay, so you mentioned some of your team of professionals. Okay, who all is included in this team of professionals? You mentioned physicians, but there's a lot more involved, isn't there?
Absolutely. The nurses.
Okay.
The nurses, really help establish the care, and they work with the rest of the hospice team to pull in those folks that need to come in. But the nurse is the one that does a lot of the visits, meets with the family. Then they would call on the social worker to come in to help with counseling, additional support, the chaplain for additional support. We would get the volunteers involved, if the family needed a little bit of a break here and there. So it's really a whole team of professionals that come in.
You even have therapists, like physical therapists, speech therapists come in and work with the patient.
If there's a need, certainly. There's several times that we've had to send therapists in to help out.
So basically, if you're called in, you're going to send someone to actually do an assessment.
They would evaluate, talk with the family, make sure, and the patient, and make sure that this is something that they would want. They would sign on. And actually, when hospice gets involved, we become an all-inclusive benefit. It's almost like we're an HMO, but I say a good HMO, that we're there to manage all the care for that person with their terminal illness. So we pay for the medications, we pay for equipment, all the services like the nurses, the social work, the whole gang, and it's all inclusive.
Because really, truly, when you're called in, face it, I mean, the loved ones, they're not familiar with anything that they're going to need. Like you had mentioned, some of the different medical equipment. I mean, you would be able to see if they need a hospital bed.
Absolutely.
Do you line things like that up?
Absolutely. It all comes through the team. And usually on that assessment visit, that's one of the first things the nurse will look at. What do we need right now? And then at each subsequent visit, they'll look at, okay, maybe it's time we bring that hospital bed in. And all we do is pick up the phone, make the call to Great Lakes, our sister company, and we bring the bed in. Or the wheelchair or oxygen or any of those things that are a comfort at end of life, we'll bring those in.
Once you're called in, what is the time period that you spend with the patient? Is it 24/7? Is it a couple times a day? How does that work?
Well, it depends. First of all, how much time we spend depends on how ill the person is at that time.
Okay, so it's a case by
As a person
case
gets
assessment.
sicker, we'll definitely be spending more time there, but we are not a 24/7 service.
Okay.
The family is required to be there and provide care for the patient when we aren't. If someone's very ill, we can go daily towards the end of their life, but the family or caregivers or paid caregivers are really to be there with the family.
Okay.
That's one of the criteria. We have to have good caregiving in the home situation.
So this is where the education comes in on your part.
Absolutely. Because the nurses will come in and work with the family, explain the medications, because that's, at end of life, we use some really different medications in hospice. And so the nurse does a lot of that teaching to explain to them, what they need to do and how they need to give the medications. And sometimes it doesn't always work at home. Sometimes families get burned out, or they need help, or they need a break.
Yeah, what happens there?
Well, what we do is we help the patient and family maybe find an alternative place for them to go, whether it's a nursing facility or an assisted living facility. Our social worker will work with them. And sometimes we just do a break. It's called a respite that we provide, that the person could go in for 5 days into a nursing home. We'll pay for it, everybody gets a break, and the person would come back home. Sometimes they can't come back home, so sometimes they'll stay in the facility, and we help make that happen and help with that transition. And the nice part is we can stay involved with those folks. We will go wherever home is. So if it's a nursing home, an assisted living, a friend's house, a parent's house, wherever it may be, that's where we would take care of that person.
So when the person has a familiar face, even though they're being put in an area or a different facility, that they might be a little apprehensive, they still have familiar people around.
Right, absolutely. They have the whole team coming in.
That is really, really nice. And I like that respite. I don't think a lot of our viewers are aware that is available to them sometimes, but it's true. Or what if the caregiver has to go out of town?
Right.
And we've had actually patients request a respite because they needed a break from their family because things are so intense, there's so much going on sometimes emotionally that they want a break from it. So they'll say, can I go into a nursing home for respite? Yeah, they'll ask for a respite just to have a break. Yeah.
It's a nice service.
So it really is, and you guys line all that up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, you guys are great. Now, what is the Great Lakes service area? Who do you cover?
Erie County.
Okay, all of Erie County.
All of Erie County. We've looked at expanding, but we really we want to stay here in Erie County and really focus on the folks that are here. So,
does somebody just pick up the phone and call you, or is it through the hospital, or is it through a doctor's office? How does that work?
Well, we get referrals from a lot of sources. Folks can certainly pick up the phone and call, and usually they get Heather. But we ideally need a physician's order to get someone into hospice. And we could probably discuss the Hospice 101s, what we call Hospice 101s,
Absolutely.
where we go out.
Whenever somebody wants some additional information, maybe they're not ready to commit to hospice, but
All
they
right.
just want to know about it, we offer what we call a Hospice 101,
Okay.
that someone from our team, whether it's a nurse, an aide, our social worker, our chaplain, a volunteer, somebody would come to the house or come to wherever home is and just explain our services and leave some information, but there's no commitment. They don't have to sign up that day or anything like that. They can just get the information and then maybe think about it.
So this is where you come in, you'll explain everything that you can do to help them.
Because they may not be quite ready or not know enough about it.
Or
about the
know that it's
program.
coming down the road,
Right.
and I don't want to be blindsided.
Right, and sometimes folks need some time to think about it. It's a big decision to make. So
Yes, it is.
We do offer that, and sometimes people decide to go ahead with it, and sometimes they don't. But it's there for them,
Okay.
information.
Okay. Now, I understand that you have a new hospital inpatient service. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, this is a new program that we're really excited about. It started on August 1st of this year. And what this is we have services now that we can offer right in the hospital for those patients that maybe can't make it home if they're at the end of their life. These are usually folks that are at the end of their life, maybe have only days to live. They don't have to worry about getting them home. They certainly can try to get home if they'd like, and we could go in their home, but if they want to stay in the hospital, we can actually go into the hospital and provide services for them there.
What services would you provide in the hospital?
The same services we would provide in the home, nursing. We have the chaplain services, nurse aides go in, volunteers can go in and sit with patients. Anybody that can go in the home can go into the hospital setting.
That is absolutely wonderful, because I know the hospitals anymore, oh my goodness, those nurses work so hard, you know, and it's not like it was years ago, really. I mean, you've got to admit, they
Healthcare
don't
has
have
changed.
the time to do that. They've got the time to do the basics, to take, you know, the vitals or the medications, but they have quite a heavy workload on them.
Absolutely.
So this is giving the patient a little bit more personal touch,
And
right?
the family, because
Right.
again, at end of life, those families need that support even more sometimes than the patient. Sometimes we do what we need to do with the medications, patient's comfortable, and then we spend the rest of our time, you know, consoling the family, helping them work through some of the issues, help them plan what's next. So it's really a great service to be able to offer that in the hospital. And what's nice, it's a scatter bed model, so we can see patients on any floor. It's not like they're in a certain area. Eventually, we'd like to have our own dedicated unit, but for right now, we're just kind of going wherever they go. So it's really a great service.
And as you can imagine, there's a lot of crisis at that point, not just for the patient, for the family. There are a lot of things happen very quickly, so we're there to support them with the help of the hospital staff.
Yeah.
They're there to help us, you know, when we're not there. So.
Well, you guys do a wonderful service. I know we had called in hospice with my dad, and Cheryl knows she knew my dad, and it really is wonderful. But I do understand what they're saying. You're kind of hesitant to call them in because it's almost like saying, I give up. But it's not that. And I want to stress that it really is not that. It's bringing in some professionals to help you deal with the stages of what your loved one's going through.
Right, and we're not there to hasten death, so to speak. I know that sounds kind of harsh. We're there to give you quality of life and comfort at the end of your life and help you with that journey.
And
That's
there
what
are
we're there
times
for.
that we actually get to what I call graduate people from hospice, that, you know, we admit them to the program, we think, oh wow, they only have maybe a couple weeks or a couple months, and they get better.
Oh, I like those
it doesn't
stories.
happen all the time,
Yes.
but when it does, we feel so good.
Isn't that
To be able
wonderful?
to graduate someone from our program, absolutely.
But even if a patient, you know, if you do lose a patient, you still have to feel very good that you were there to help them at the end, and the family.
That's what we're there for.
Absolutely.
Because those left behind, oh boy, that's where,
And that's one of the things that we offer in addition to all the medications and equipment. We offer a 1-year, it's actually a 13-month bereavement program. So after the patient dies, we're calling that family for a year. We're sending them letters. We're inviting them to our support groups. So they're having that extra touch for another year after their loved one dies.
so you don't forget about them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think they really, really do need that.
We also, for the bereaved, have twice a year have a memorial service that we hold, and we invite everyone, and we have a service, and it's a beautiful service that there's a lot of music and celebration of
Where
life.
do you usually hold this?
That's at St. John's Lutheran Church.
Okay.
We've been doing it there, gosh, since we started our services in 2003. So it's just a great location because it's 22nd and Peach. It's on a bus line, so it's just a nice central location for everybody to be able to get there. So.
And one of the nice things we do during that service is we have a large picture that is usually taken from one of our volunteers, maybe one of our staff, and the family members come up and sign their loved one's name to the picture. And it hangs at our office. We have several of them now because we've been doing it for several years. But then the family also gets a picture memento to take home to remember. And it's very touching, very touching.
I bet it is.
It is.
You don't leave there without crying.
And how long have you been doing this?
Since 2003.
Okay, and it's twice a year you do this?
Yep.
How nice. You have a new event that we were talking about. It's called Brighten the Night.
Brighten the Night. It is a new event, and this is an event that is designed to help our patients and families out who we've been helping out throughout the years. And it's going to be held on Tuesday, November 22nd at 5:30 p.m. on the front lawn of UPMC Hammett. There's going to be a large, I believe, almost 20-foot tree that's going to be donated by Debbie and George Burbalis. Debbie is the president of our UPMC Women's Hospital. And what we're going to do is fill it with lights, and we're going to talk about doves that can be sponsored and light up the tree and celebrate.
Is this the first year you're going to be
This is
doing
the
this?
very first
So this
year
is
for
the
it.
first of an annual event.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is.
That's what
and
we're
really
hoping.
excited about it.
And I think this is going to be a way for us to share Great Lakes Hospice with the community, because we do our memorial services every year, but those are really more for people who have had loved ones in the past and die with us. But this is really to spread it to the whole community, and a way for people to either memorialize their loved one or honor loved ones. We're selling different lights, $10 for a light to honor your loved one, or $10 for a light to memorialize. And then we have the doves that we're selling that are $500 if you want to purchase a dove to honor or memorialize a loved one.
Okay, so I would buy a light, and now, will I put that on the tree? Are you going to have people there or volunteers, or how's that going to work?
I think the plan is to actually have the tree ready and kind of turn the lights on when we have the service. Just
Okay,
because
so it's going to be all set, then you have the
Right.
service.
And
then
we'll have a
you-
list of those that donated and are remembered. And this is a picture, or not a picture, but this is the actual dove that we're selling. People can sponsor to be put on the tree for $500. And we've actually sold a few of these already, so we're
Oh, I
really
believe
excited.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've had businesses purchase them. We actually have some families purchase them already, so we're really thrilled about that, but I want to be able to show everyone that.
Okay, so this is something new. It's going to be an annual event. How can I participate in this? Who would I call?
Well, you can call the Hammett Second Century Fund at 814-877-7020. And we also have a website, and it is upmchammett.org/Brighten the Night.
Okay. And that'll get you right there with all the information.
It will.
You can sign up, you can...
Right.
And we're actually selling lights at different events in the community over the next few months. We're going to be at the mall. We're going to be at the Healthy Women's Expo. So we're really going to try to be out there with our volunteers selling the lights. So if you're going to any community events over the next few months, you should be able to purchase as well. So.
Okay, you mentioned volunteers. Let's talk a little bit about what some of your volunteers do for you.
Well, they do a variety of things. We have some volunteers that do what I would think the obvious is. They go and they sit with a patient in their home, or they could go in the hospital setting now and sit with them. We have volunteers that come in the office and do some of our hospice filing. We have volunteers that come in and help with volunteer training that we do several times a year. We have volunteers that make up gift baskets that we give out to families and to remember their loved ones. Several things.
They help with bereavement. We have a few that actually attend our bereavement groups and help run the bereavement groups, because who better to support those that are grieving than somebody else who's been through it. So, and most of our volunteers are somebody that's had a hospice experience. And that's
Okay, so
why
they've
they-
already been working with you and are
Right.
so pleased
Right.
with what you've done that they want to help
they want to be able
continue,
to give back. Yeah.
continue to give back.
And the nice part about a volunteer, especially when they're in with a patient and family, is they have no agenda. Where the nurse has their role, the social worker has their role, a volunteer just gets to go in and be there and support those folks and just
They just roll with it.
absolutely. We have some that'll just go and sit and read to patients.
Okay.
We have one that he actually will plow or shovel driveways. He doesn't do it as much anymore, but just little things like that are so hard for folks that they'll go in and do those sorts of things.
Right.
Now, if I wanted to be a volunteer, for some of the areas, would it require some type of a training?
Right.
On some of the areas?
Right. We do actually a 2-day training a couple times a year. We just had one actually last week with a great group of people. Yes, it requires some, you have to have some background, some education, just things like infection control and things like that. People need to and learn
Okay.
about end-of-life things. Even though
Right.
these folks have been through it in some way, we are required to educate them about it.
Okay. You guys do an absolute wonderful job. I'll tell you, I am so happy to have you two ladies on the program again. Just to let our viewers know that you are out there and the services that you provide, because I think when you're in that situation, you just feel sort of hopeless.
Absolutely.
And you don't know what direction to take.
Right.
That's why if you give them a call, they will steer you in the right direction.
We sure will.
Absolutely.
And also, I'm very excited about your new event, Brighten the Night.
So
So are we.
So you guys are busy through the year. You really
Absolutely.
are.
Right.
What with the training classes, with your two memorial services, now Brighten the Night.
And our inpatient hospice, yes, we've been very busy.
So, but they can always use volunteers.
Absolutely.
Feel free to give them a call. They're a wonderful team. Ladies, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Judy.
joining us. Is there anything else that we might not have covered that you want to get across? I think we pretty much
Covered the gamut,
covered everything. Thank you again so much. Cheryl, it's always a pleasure to
Thank
see
you, Judy.
Heather, thank you so much for joining us on the
Absolutely.
program. Viewers, any questions on the Brighten the Night or even the hospice services, please feel free to give them a call. Thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day.